right, welcome to Trust Love Communications, where we discuss and hear topics that are important from the community point of view from everyday people like you and me. In today's segment of our monthly conversation called Garage Talk with the Fellas, we will hear from the voice and the perspective of Jody Coleman from the Jody Coleman Show. So Jody, thank you for joining me today.
I appreciate it. I appreciate the time you invite me here.
So I'm so glad you're here. Today's topic is relationships from the black male perspective. So hopefully we can sit back, relax, and just have some good conversation. And as people listen, they can learn some things. They can walk away with some things. They can be angry about some things. And they can just, chop it up and say, okay,
Let's go.
All right. So one of the questions that I have for you as we talk about relationships from the black male perspective is, why do you think people constantly attract mates that they're not compatible with?
I mean, that's a complex question, but from my perspective is a lot of times we look at the outer. Men are visual.
Okay.
So we're going to look for what we tend to find attractive visually.
Okay.
And once we get that person, because first of all, every time we go talk to a very attractive woman, we got that instincts that we may get shut down. And men hate men hate to be rejected.
Okay.
We hate to be rejected because we get angry when we get rejected. So the first thing they do is that's why you get one. First of all, when you get them, you kind of shocked that, oh, she really want to talk to me.
Okay.
So when you get her, you don't see the red flags because you're looking at the outer appearance. All these red flags pop up.
Okay.
Y'all have nothing in common. Y'all don't like the same things. She gets on your nerves, but she's beautiful. So you can hear this.
You try to deal with that.
You deal with it because they're beautiful to you, to your appearance, and they probably fit all the physical critiques that you want from a woman.
Okay.
So in the essence of that, she can't cook, or she don't cook what you want her to cook.
Okay.
She gets on your nerves. So once again, now you got all this people that's not compatible, and that's from a male's perspective. We get these people that's not compatible because we looked at looks and we didn't look at the inner, and it's difficult to look at the inner because your vision of beauty is that's what you want. So you get all these people that's together with people and not compatible because you didn't really get the chance to know them because you was just going on strict beauty.
So that kind of segues into my other question that I have for you about men staying in broken relationships with women. And do you think it's because of sometimes familiarity in some cases? I heard what you said about the critique and looking at the outer appearance, but do you believe that sometimes they stay in broken relationships because it's familiar?
A lot of times people stay in broken relationships out of convenience.
Okay.
And that's similar to being familiar with that person. And also is when you get older, it's not a lot of the dating pool gets a little tainted.
I'd agree.
The dating pool gets smaller and smaller for somebody that's going to be compatible with your age group. When you're 20 years old, it's huge. It's like the ocean because, that didn't work. 21, 22, you're going to find so many other people because there are less people that's married at 21. There's less people with expectations at 21. And as you get older and you start maturing and having kids and having families and getting married, those people that are great are out of the dating pool. So now when you get to your 35 and 40 and you're looking at people that have been in the dating pool and married once or twice, or you got people that got kids, or now you're dealing with the pressures of the world and your job, and people don't feel like they're in the right place in their life. So they meet people and stay with people because they don't know if that person will stay with them if they knew all their baggage. So you stand with this person because they know all your baggage.
But isn't that part of a relationship, the vulnerability and the intimacy? You should be able to have those conversations about that baggage. So if you're in a relationship and you can't be vulnerable and you can't have those intimate conversations, how do men see that? You know what I mean? When they know that maybe this woman is carrying some baggage, but she's just not ready to share with me. Or vice versa. How does women see it? Because sometimes we see it in men, but men don't talk about emotional things and men don't get into that all the time. So how do you break that barrier and bridge that gap, do you think?
Once again, unloading baggage, you got to trust that person. You can be in a relationship for 5 years with a guy or a girl and still don't even trust them yet.
But why? Yeah, see, that's why I don't understand. Why stay in it?
Oh. Well, let's go back to what we said previously, because of the beauty. And then you get to a point where you don't want that woman being with anybody else because, I don't know if we can say this, but the sex is great.
Okay.
And now you don't want that person knowing what that person does to be with anybody but you. And But in that, it's easy to learn people's sexuality more than it is to be emotional.
So for men, sex is that important that if the sex is good and she looks good, you'd stay in that relationship out of familiarity, out of what she looks like, and deal with that.
Yeah, men.
Wow. Okay.
I'm gonna be honest. Men are can be shallow at times.
Okay.
Not that we don't care about the other things, but the initial attraction is always beauty.
Okay. Right.
It's beauty, and then everything else comes secondary. Because a woman can have a lot of guys like, man, I want a woman that got no kids and this and that. That's cool, but if she's beautiful, sometimes all those things that you wanted doesn't matter.
Okay.
If
you're willing to lay aside those things those must-haves that you've told yourself you need for good sex and some beauty.
If Beyonce walk in the door and Beyonce got 8 kids and Beyonce ain't working, she work at the local Wendy's. And nothing wrong with Wendy's if you got a job. I'm just saying. But if she laying up on child support, or she laying up on Section 8 housing, and she just ain't doing nothing, she don't work and none of that stuff, people still gonna date Beyonce because she's beautiful.
Okay.
But I'm just using that as an analogy that sometimes we get blinded by that, and sometimes that person gets second and third and fourth chances because of their beauty.
Wow. Okay. Wow. So, they talk different types of men. They talk about the narcissistic man, the womanizing man. They talk about the good man. They talk about the man in Christ. So we talk about all these various types of men. So as you think about those types of men, can these men sense when women are wounded or women have insecurities? And do they pick up on that and use that as they come introduce themselves to that woman?
You know what? I'm gonna sit up for this one.
Okay. I see. Okay.
Because just like blood in the water, just like when a shark smell blood in the water, they circle around that blood and they know the vulnerabilities of a woman. And a lot of men take advantage of that.
Okay.
They know when that woman's been hurt. So guess what they do? Oh, I'll never do what your last man did. That's the number one pickup line. If y'all ain't, that's the number one pickup line. I'll never be like him.
Okay.
And then you end up being worse than him. So when you come into that scenario, yes, they can definitely find out. Like let's go with the church environment, because the church environment, honestly, is one of the most tainted dating pools that we have.
I agree.
Now, people don't want to talk about it. We're gonna talk about this right now.
Sure, let's do it.
Because when you go into church, a lot of women, when they go up for prayer, it's because they don't have the man that they want. Oh, can you pray? They want this man, and when they get that man, so when every new man coming to the church, guess what? He's like chum, bait, and they're running to that man. If he's single, he ain't got no woman. All of a sudden, all the morals that you learn from your pastor or from your church environment goes completely out of the window. And then you do whatever it takes, and then you have sex before marriage, even though that's what they're preaching against. You end up doing that. And then once it don't work, now you're looking for the next guy. So now you got the woman being that church and being promiscuous in church, because every new guy that come in there, and guys know what churches got a lot of women.
Okay.
So they go to those churches knowing
they can pursue what they can pursue.
I said this, and I'm going to say it again on your show.
Okay.
There's more sex going on in church than it is in the club.
Wow.
I said it.
Okay.
There's more sex in the church going on, and I'm not talking about from the past. I'm talking about from single people, because that's what a lot of people's prayers is. They think that if they get this man or they get this woman, everything in the world is going to heal itself for them.
Not knowing it's deeper than that. Knowing that you got to go back and So I wrote a book called Road to Your Purpose, Life After Pain. And in that book, while I didn't use personal information, it talks about the journey that I kind of went through in the healing process. And what women need to understand is that you need to go back and heal those past traumas, because you could never be whole going into a relationship. And that's really kind of what God desires, is that two whole people come together, right? And when you bring two broken people together, it creates chaos. It creates toxicity. And that toxicity is, I believe, what you're seeing that we're experiencing in the church. Right.
And I just use church as an example because we talking about the typical or the type of man. So then you have the narcissistic man that think that every woman is supposed to be into them.
Right.
And he thinks that this woman she should be happy just for him to be around.
Right.
And those are the ones that normally tear women's self-esteem down.
Okay.
So those are the guys that you definitely want to avoid, because he has a lot of stuff going on with him that he needs to take care of.
Sure.
And to be honest, I was that man at one point in time in my life.
Okay.
Because I thought like it's a blessing for you to talk to me.
Like I'm Jody Coleman.
But once I grew up and understood that that's not a way to go, you're never going to have a true woman in your life by doing that. And then you have, what was the other man that you named?
The womanizer.
The womanizer. Now, the womanizer is a very shaky one. And the reason why I say that is because the womanizer, he will change everything for the woman that he really wants.
Okay.
The womanizer has no problem. The reason why he's doing what he's doing is because he doesn't find any purpose for them women in his life. So what he does is he gets a multitude of women to fill every void that he needs in his life. Okay. And that's what women don't understand. Just you got a woman that can cook. You got a woman that got great conversation. You got a woman that got great sex. You got a woman that got money. And they put all that, and they can never find that one woman. That has it all. So what they do is they keep dibbling, dabbling in different things, and then he becomes that womanizer, and then every woman hating. And then normally he's just waiting for that right woman to come along.
But how do women combat that? You know what I mean? Because no woman wants to date a man and learn later that he is that womanizer. Because, you know, women fall in love and they get excited about the relationship and they want the relationship and they're willing to fight for it. But he has these hang-ups. And so men don't readily say, my needs aren't being met in a relationship, if you will.
Because a lot of times, honestly, women don't want to hear that. Women do not want to hear that they got flaws.
So the type of man you just talked about was a womanizer.
Right.
And we talked about the narcissist. How do women combat themselves, or how do they protect themselves? Because every woman wants a relationship with a man that they believe loves them. Right. But men don't readily say to them, my needs aren't being met in a relationship.
And once again, I think when a man says that, women don't want to hear it, because women have egos too. But how can you combat it when there's so many of them out here, and they disguise? A man will disguise who they are just to get that woman, and then after 3 or 4 months, then boom, here's the womanizer, here's that narcissistic individual. Only way I can, because women, it's like either they all the way with a wall up or they don't have a wall at all. Okay. They have to find a common medium to protect themselves.
So setting boundaries.
Right.
Okay.
You definitely got to set boundaries, but you can't be so tight that man don't want to be with you or talk to you, because you're so tight on everybody. Everybody got to earn your trust. And then you got these people that trust everybody. So once they find out, you're going to have to make a real conscious effort to understand who is really being real with you. And you just have to have those tough conversations. Yeah, have what are you bringing to the table? This is what I bring to the table type of conversation. These are things that I'm comfortable with. These are things that I'm not comfortable with. Have them early and often.
Okay.
Have them early and often.
Okay.
And find out what it is that person wants and don't want. But don't lose yourself. And this is what women do. They lose themselves in trying to please that man.
Right.
And they may please that man, but then that woman is crushed inside. So you got to find an equal medium.
Okay. So as we talk about woundedness in a relationship, could you see yourself dating someone that's wounded and helping them go through that healing process? Is there a woman that could add that much value or get that much interest from a man? Absolutely.
I like, once again, I don't personally have a problem with women that come with baggage, because at this age I feel like everybody has
right everybody has a story.
When I say age, so the audience understand, I'm talking about your 35 and up.
Okay.
You got a lot of divorcees, you got a lot of like I said, fathers, you got a lot of deaths, you got widows, you got guys that lost their wife or lost their girlfriend. It's all kind of different stuff, so everybody has some type of baggage.
Okay.
So 9 times out of 10, you're going to deal with somebody. The only thing is that person has to trust in you to unload that baggage with you. You got to help her unload that baggage. Okay. But that man has to want to. If you get a man that really wants a relationship and really wants that woman, he has no problem, and vice versa. And what I'm seeing a lot of times is you got guys that are really into that girl, and the girl, I don't like the nice guy. I'd rather...
The good guy finishes
right.
last.
And then you go cheat with Earl over here that been... beat you and all that stuff. And then you got the vice versa. Now the dude don't want that woman that's really to look into it. He wants that bad girl that's out every night drinking and stuff like that. So I don't know why that happens. Why?
Yeah, because so there's mutually when you have professional women, they always claim it's hard to find a good man. And is that because sometimes those men are looking for the women that's in the club or the women that drink and it's going to, kick it with them a little differently than a woman who's professional. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
I'm kind of glad you said that. And I'll talk to a friend of mine about this exact situation where you got these women that are professional, make six figures, but they tighter than nobody wants to talk to them because you got your nose all up in the air.
Not all of them.
Not all of them, and I don't want to put the perception that I'm coming down on the particular group, but we do know there's some.
Okay.
So the ones they look unapproachable. They want a person that's on that same level as them. It's very difficult to, as you go up the ladder, it's not going to be as many as each of you.
Sure. So
both of y'all making $100,000 or $200,000 a year. Sometimes you're gonna have to not compromise on salary. But you got to get a man that's going to be in tune with you and want to be with you. So a lot of times we'll look over that six-figure woman to get that woman over here because we know we gonna get what we need. So we have that six-figure woman that a guy will walk right by because we're looking for a particular type of woman. We like women that like stuff that we like.
And I understand that. So you're saying sometimes the professional women may have to settle for that guy that makes $20,000-$40,000 a year if he's willing to pour into her and be there with her. But we, or women of professional standard, don't always see the value in that man that makes less money because they feel like they have to carry the relationship because that's a different perspective.
Yeah, sometimes, but I don't like the word settle. I don't think anybody should say that they're settling. Right. But when you're looking at a relationship, sometimes it's not going. You want to look at the equally yoked, but sometimes a lot of people get in relationships, and whoever make the most money tend to be the one that makes all the decisions. So, what man wants to be with somebody that constantly getting thrown in their face that their woman make more money than them? It's almost and nowadays it is a lot more women making more money than men, but a lot of men they'll go and they'll get this woman and some. Let me go ahead and say this: men like women that needs them to a certain extent. Not that they're begging, but they like that a woman that their woman comes to them
for help.
Right, and if you got all this money, you're not gonna come to him for that.
So men like to be needed. So really it goes back to the old school perspective, especially in this age group, that women need to make men feel valued, feel confident, feel that he is their provider, their supporter, their protector. So that takes away the salary piece of it, right?
Well, you can still make more money and still feel needed. And women don't use the essence that they have.
Okay.
They have the power to make their man do whatever they want to do. It's about the tone of voice. You get more bees with honey than vinegar. It's about how you say it.
Okay.
You can make your man feel like the man even if you make $100,000 more than him.
Sure.
And a lot of women don't do that. And a lot of men are so insecure. That's what we got to understand. It's a lot of men that's insecure. Not just about salary, but about their past or whatever it is. And that's when you need a woman. When we say we need our woman to be our biggest cheerleader, it's not every time you cheering when I walk down the steps. It's about making me feel like a man. And in return, I got to make you feel like a woman. And I think that's where we go back to your first question, the earlier questions, why people stay in these relationships or why they don't, or they go elsewhere is because they're looking for that companion that's going to consistently not judge them, makes them feel like a man, and provide for them the mental aspect of a relationship as well as the physical.
Okay. So what advice would you give women who are out here dating, regardless of their professional background, about men and relationships from your perspective?
I think the main thing that I think that's very interesting with that question is a lot of women have to understand, look at the man. Look at, like before, don't go ask your friends.
Okay.
Quit asking your friends what you think. Because what normally, especially if you're in the Dayton area and even Cincinnati and Columbus area, it seems like when you ask your friends, it's always a negative connotation around that guy.
Okay.
They'll be like, if they say, oh, Jody, oh, he did say he used to mess with this person. And right then, you may say you don't care, but in the back of your mind, your subconscious, you put that back in the back of your mind. So if that guy does anything remotely what they said you're going to do later on in a relationship, they think back. So the first thing I think women need to do is to find the man and quit asking everybody do they know him. Because 9 times out of 10, get to know him for yourself. No matter what this man did, no matter what this man's reputation, if he makes you happy inside, he makes you smile, he makes your soul, he meets the requirements of your soul and your spirits and all that. Know that man for yourself before you get to asking everybody else about this man, because we're 35 and up. Like I said, everybody got baggage. Everybody got a past. You need to learn that person for yourself before you get to getting out there, because if you want a relationship with a man, especially in Dayton, Ohio, he's going to probably have dealt with somebody that you know.
Sure.
So that's the first thing. The second thing they need to do is make sure they're ready for a relationship. And what I mean by being ready, when you finally open up to that guy, it's got to be a goal in mind. But don't put the pressure on that man that he needs to marry you tomorrow.
Sure.
Don't put the pressure on that man he needs to give you a key. Don't put that pressure on this man that he got to do for your kids. Don't put this pressure on this man that he got to provide for you and pay all your bills. That's a complete turnoff for a man, because if a man really wants to be with you, he's going to do all those things without you asking.
Sure.
So if you got to ask a man any of those particular things that is named, that's not the guy for you.
Right. Okay.
But then that's probably not the girl for him.
Right.
So if we keep that in mind in getting relationships, that you got to know that this person is going to have some baggage. But don't just subject yourself because this man is handsome. Make sure this guy got something going for himself. And I ain't saying that he got to have $1 million, but man, if he living in his mom's basement, let him get a little bit more time to get his stuff together, because he may have got laid off. I'm not saying it
could be circumstantial.
But let him be his friend and make him get on his feet. Or if you want to help him get on his feet, then help him. But don't help him get on his feet, and then when he get on his feet, oh, if it wasn't for me, you wouldn't have.
Right. Don't throw it back up in his face and make him, because that's the degrading piece. That's the I'm not feeling like a man piece.
Right. But in conclusion, I just think that when women are looking and dating, like I said, dating in Dayton or surrounding areas, they have to understand that these people have baggage and get to learn that man for themselves. Don't ask your friends. Yeah, I truly believe that just get to know him for yourself. Don't worry about who we talked to in the past. If he makes you happy, he makes you smile, he fits the requirements. And I'm never going to tell a woman to lower their standards. That's one thing. Do never lower your standards.
Okay.
Keep your standards high, but make them realistic.
Okay.
Keep your standards high, but make them realistic. Maybe when you was 20 or 25, he need to make $100,000. He might only make $50,000.
Sure.
But just make sure he's a real man. And when a real man is going to provide, regardless, he makes $20,000, $100,000, he's going to provide for you. He's going to make you feel special. And there's men out here that will make women feel special. Okay. But they only going to do it if you got to ask that man anything to make you special. You got to ask him to do it. That's not the relationship you want to be in. If you can remember that, I think that you'll have a little bit more success. I'm not saying it's going to be 100 proof. Sure. But I'm pretty sure you have a little bit more luck in the dating pool if you're looking at it from a perspective that everybody's not perfect.
Thank you so much, Jody, for that. I appreciate you taking the time to come out. The information has been eye-opening, and we can walk away with treat the man with respect. Make the man feel like a man. Get to know him for yourself. Don't lower your standards, and you might have some success out here.
I believe you would.
From the male perspective.
Yeah, I believe you would.
All right. Well, that's Garage Talk with the Fellas. Thank you so much for joining us, Jody Coleman and the audience. And until next time.